Hey everybody, hope everybody's well. A Model Life by Lonely Robot is my introduction to the group. Come back and let me share my thoughts and my feelings on this album because it's a very emotional album indeed.
And if you want to taste your medicine, I'll make you get what you deserve. You're out of touch and you're out of sight in this world of evergreen.
All right, John Mitchell doesn't really need an introduction, but I'll give you a little bit of a one anyways. He's an English multi-instrumentalist, singer, producer, and vocalist who's come to prominence with groups like Frost and Arena. His skills and talents are also brought out to be others as well. His solo work is equally prolific with Kino and The Urbane. Mostly in the last 7 years, Mitchell has devoted much time to another side hustle, Lonely Robot. Begun in 2015, this creative outlet has produced 5 albums. Now Mitchell returns with his latest Lonely Robot album, A Model Life. John Mitchell, the prestigious musician and producer working under the name Lonely Robot, has written a tapestry of songs that weave a narrative that's lush and cinematic. For those new to Lonely Robot, such as myself, imagine Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel deciding to make a progressive rock album with a hint of Dream Theater. These are, of course, loose comparisons, as John Mitchell's hand has been influenced in many records, not his own, and for many years. Filled with subtle modulation and clever key changes, the lyrical content of this record, A Model Life, is just as rich as the instrumental. Now, this album is inherently melancholy, introspective, and emotionally conflicted. The listener has to be prepared for a sad emotional album where the lyrical themes can easily overshadow the musical creativity. This doesn't make A Model Life a bad album, just one that you should be emotionally prepared for. That's not to say this is a whimsical record. Quite on the contrary, this record is an eloquent representation of emotions and experiences. Frustration throughout the opening song, Recalibrating, for example, rings of real hurt after a bad relationship has ended. On the next track, Digital God Machine, Mitchell takes stab at the keyboard warriors everywhere in their bedrooms who hide and take aim at people they dislike or disapprove. That's a very fitting thing for these times, I would agree. And this has to be one of my, if not my favorite song on the album. Following Digital God Machine, we have a somber song called Species in Transition, which has a bittersweet tension, which is also a highlight of the album, between the bass, the leading keys, and guitars. There's so much to pick apart and delve into in this song that repeated listens are a must. Following Species in Transition, we have a song called Starlit Stardust. It's a beautiful song that also ruminates an end of a relationship and the feeling of loss. A singer by the name of Sarah Lambert Gates also provides some lovely ethereal backing vocals, which further enhances this track. After Starlit Stardust, we had the second single to be lifted from the album, The Island of Misfit Toys, with a suitably creepy video accompanying it. The song is for all the outcasts of society that eventually find kindred spirits in each other. I'm not a big fan of the song. I find it is the weakest of the album. I just find it a little bit too quirky, but I can see the appeal to that as well. Next, we have the title track, which is a song called Model Life, and it sits at the heart of the album and takes a deep look at our lives as they are, rather than what we think they should be. We are aiming for this perfect model life to make ourselves happy and fulfilled, or are we kidding ourselves and should be focused on what we have? All those what ifs in our lives and relationships is basically what the song is about. After that, we have a lovely little song called Mandalay, and this is another poignant and moving song that looks back at John's broken relationship, referencing the sprawling coastal estate from a Hitchcock classic, The Haunting Rebecca, which is destined to burn down at the end. It's a strong metaphor that also relates to times in our lives when these things seem safe and happy, and now which have been lost or forgotten with the passage of time. This is another personal favorite of mine on the album. Following Mandalay, we have a song called Rain Kings, and this looks at not being afraid to cry when things go wrong and the realization that sometimes we must cry to both cope and move on. This song resonates, very much with me because obviously I'm a male, and sometimes, yes, I do cry, and sometimes it does help, and it does help me to move on. Duty of Care is probably the most personal of all the tracks on the album. John was adopted at an early age, and here he questions the lack of love and care he received from his father, in comparison with his loving mother, questioning why the man would have just wanted to adopt him in the first place. John chants his protective mantra, just keep moving, just keep breathing, against the abuse of his alcoholic stepfather. It's an uneasy listen to at times. Duty of Care is a dreamlike, otherworldly experience, a haunting tale of parental failure and a joyful adoptive family. The album closes with another song concerning his troubled relationship with his father, who died when he was only 12 years old. In Memoriam continues to open up the deeply personal Pandora's box of memories and emotions from the previous track, and his determination not to follow a similar path, repeat the mistake of his father, and move on himself. All in all, fundamentally, Lonely Robot's latest venture, A Model Life, is a melancholy and creative melodic progressive rock album, made even more melancholy by its lyrical themes, loss, and one man's reflection upon the same. If you're a fan, you'll enjoy this album a great amount. I'm going to give it an 88%. All right, as usual, I will show you the physical copy that I got. And of course, is the cover. Back. CD with track list on it. And then we have credits and such, web information, and what's really going to have it there. So I look at the book here. Choosing some lyrics. More lyrics. More of the artwork. All right, guys, night. We'll see you in the next video. Take care as usual, and good night.